As we are living in the moment, it's such a joy to bring everybody into this stream in the moment that they are, in their homes, to you, in the moment where you are, in your homes. So thank you to Bonnie, Jerry, Roberta, Lori, and Eric for sharing. Well, I am so grateful to have a couple of spiritual practices to share with you. This is Multi-Generational Sunday. What you may not know is that on the other weeks of the month, we do have, again, a youth circle that's opening in our Connecting in Community Zoom room at 10 a.m. each Sunday. And following that gathering together is an individual opportunity for the kids to work together with their facilitator. It's been Scott and Kimberly, thank you so much, who are leading them through lessons. And so last week, Brian and Eve McCloney shared a lesson on our denials and our affirmations, and I have a practice from them that I wanted to share with you. You'll recall that last week we were working on our denials and affirmations, and I invited you to share your affirmations and to work on those throughout the week. So I want to start with Brian's. This is Brian Lowry. See if you can see Brian in the affirmation he created here. Brian says, I am friendly, I am generous, I am caring, I am kind, I am loving, I am clever, I am forgiving, I am nice, I am funny, I am smart, and I am Brian Lowry. I heard Brian in that. I trust you did too. And then Eve's flower, in which Eve affirms, I am talented, I am hardworking, I am responsible, I am focused, I am a good dancer. And we are so delighted that Eve is able to join us. You may not know that the McCloneys moved to Virginia over the course of all of this. And so it's such a joy that Eve and Will get to continue to enjoy our youth and family ministry by coming into our Zoom room on those Sunday mornings. So thank you, Brian and Eve, for sharing your affirmations of truth. We see you both in those. And then I got a spiritual practice story, this one from Terry Brewer. So thank you, Terry, for sending this in. Here's what Terry says. We returned Saturday from a wonderful sailing vacation, only to find water gushing onto our front yard from an underground water line in our yard that had apparently ruptured. As you can imagine, getting a plumber, especially the kind that does excavating outdoors on a Saturday night, was a challenge. No one would come, so we had the city turn off our water completely. We actually didn't find a company to work until Tuesday. I was taking out the garbage bins on Monday evening, feeling quite glum about our predicament. Suddenly, my mind flashed to your Sunday talk, and I realized that I was off center. I needed to stop, do my denial and affirmation, get back on center, and be grateful. Having done that, my normal, cheerful self reappeared. I also realized how important it is to watch the live stream on Sunday morning, knowing that many of my friends are watching too. The music, meditations, photos, graphics, your talk, and having a shared experience with my Unity family combined to give us viewers an emotional experience. I flashed on your talk, which had the message I needed in my glum moment, because I had been moved by the service, and I had filled it within myself so that it popped up just when needed. Thank you, Terry Brewer, for sharing that beautiful spiritual practice story and reminding us all of the importance of being together in community through this digital experience and sharing with one another how we're all growing through the experience. So I'm counting on you to continue to share those stories and practices with me. We're returning now to our story of the lessons of the turtle. I'll take you back to the very beginning, where the turtle finds himself upside down on his back. And as we said at that time, what happens is something comes and knocks us off center, as it did Terry with her gushing water, and we find ourselves on our back. Well, the lesson of the accident, which we heard, was that we have the opportunity to choose, as Terry did. I can choose to be glum, or I can choose to remember the truth. And this is what the owl reminds Turtle, to find the gift of the accident, to know the gift of choice. Following the gift of the accident, we heard the gift of the tree, which was to honor ourselves and to find our purpose and to live from our passion. And then last week we had the gift of the cloud. The gift of the cloud was to remind us to engage our imagination and to affirm the truth in each moment. Turtle is still finding himself on his back this week as we have the gift of the butterfly. And so I'd like to share with you now our continuing saga from the gift of the butterfly. Just then, a butterfly alighted on Turtle's belly. "Do you know how silly you look?" she asked Turtle with a snicker. "Well, excuse me," snapped Turtle. "Maybe you could just roll me over and I'll be on my way." "You know, I don't think I've ever seen a turtle's bare belly before. It's really rather cute." "I'm glad I can amuse you. Do bring your friends and let's all have a party. I'll be the entertainment," Turtle said irritably. "He's in a bit of a fix," said Owl. "I do think he's gaining a whole new perspective on his back, however. Now he knows what it is to look up." "Very funny," said Turtle. "I might even laugh, except that hurts. I'm getting sunburned." "I wish I could stick around and shade your tummy, Turtle. But as you know, time is short, must be going." And before Turtle could respond, she flitted away. "Time is always short for Butterfly," said Owl, "which is one of the gifts she brings to us." "What gift is that?" Turtle wondered. She certainly wasn't helpful, and didn't seem as if she had much to offer anyone. "Oh, she does," said Owl. "She does. Time is nothing for Butterfly if not short. I expect to live a good many years myself. And you, my hard-shelled friend, if you ever get righted, will live much, much longer than I. Why, there are few creatures that outlive your kind. But Butterfly? She'll be gone before the end of summer. She emerges as a tiny caterpillar from a minute egg, gorges herself silly for a little time, and sleeps for a while in a cocoon, where she changes into a beautiful creature we just witnessed, and then dies before summer has ended. She must cram a life's worth of living into just a few weeks. Not a moment is wasted for Butterfly." "And that's her gift?" asked Turtle. "Busyness?" "Oh, no," said Owl. "Her gift to us all is the lesson of now. Now is the time to live fully. Now is the time to act. For if a thing is worth doing, it is worth doing now. The gift of the butterfly is the lesson of now. Now is the time to turn things around." Well, there is our continuing saga from the turtle on his back when the butterfly comes flitting by. I've been thinking about the butterfly this week and that life that a butterfly lives, right? As we hear in the story, the butterfly begins in that little tiny microscopic egg and comes out of that egg as a caterpillar to gorge itself, to fill itself with food until finally there's an inner urge, an inner impulse to climb up to the bottom of a stick or to the bottom of a leaf and spin for itself its own cocoon, tomb, womb, right? And in that cocoon, tomb, and womb, it literally dissolves, turns into like a jelly mess, liquefies. And what science has now called imaginal cells appear. Imaginal cells that are there between the what has been and what is not yet. It's no longer a caterpillar, and yet it's also not quite a butterfly. It's in the place of that gooey mess where imaginal cells are recreating and transforming until eventually that butterfly is formed. And that butterfly breaks out of that cocoon. But it's not ready to just fly off and be a butterfly. It has to be still for a moment. It has to beat its wings so that it can push the water, the liquid that's still there, out of its body to dry, to be prepared. If the butterfly does not have an opportunity to break out of its cocoon on its own, to dry its wings, it will not fly like the butterfly in our story. And its life will not be lived fully. But as it allows itself time to pause, to breathe, to spread its wings, to get used to this new form that it finds itself in, it then takes off. And the cycle begins again as it lays its eggs and eventually dies over the summer. I'm reminded in the story of the butterfly that tomorrow is guaranteed for none of us. We have in our human consciousness this idea, and ideally it would happen this way, that each of us will grow to a ripe old age like the butterfly who finishes its cycle, and that, yes, death is a part of life, but that we'll have lived life fully and completely before we get there. But is that what happens? Not always in life. Tomorrow isn't guaranteed for me or for you, my friends. What we have and what we know for sure is this moment, this here, this now. I've begun to re-look at what this moment is. And for me, I recognize that this moment, right here, right now, if we could capture it, this is the eternal moment. There is no eternity someday. There is eternity right here and right now, experienced in this moment of now. And in this moment of now, we can do what is ours to do. So let's take a look at that story of the butterfly and how it goes through its cycles. Born is that little tiny caterpillar that gorges itself, feasts itself to prepare itself for the next part of the journey. And my question for you and for me is, what am I and what are you gorging ourselves on? We gorge on things in our mind. So what thoughts have we been holding in mind? What thoughts have we been gorging on in mind, if you will? Are they thoughts of fear, worry, doubt? Are they thoughts of, how is this happening to me yet again? Are they thoughts of, I don't know how to do this and I can't do this anymore? Are they thoughts of lack and limitation? We can gorge ourselves on those thoughts, but then that will not support us in that transformation from caterpillar to butterfly. So I'm inviting us all to gorge ourselves on thoughts of power, on thoughts of that divine Christ spirit that is within us, that our daily word reminded us of today. On the remembering that we are one with divine mind consciousness, and that within that divine mind consciousness, we have the ability to show up as God, expressing uniquely and individually as us. We are strengthened. We are uplifted. We are filled with wisdom. We can do this. And as we gorge on those thoughts, we allow our transformation to be complete, to demonstrate that light that we are, right here, right now. Within this book, Steve Goodyear gives us some ideas of how we can meet this moment. And so I wanted to share those with you today. This is what Steve tells us, that we can turn things around, and that we turn things around as we choose to remember to grow rather than to stagnate. And so you might recall that there was a time that I talked about life isn't happening to us, life is happening for us. Have you taken that idea and lived more deeply into it over these past few weeks? In our Finding Yourself in Transition class, we talked about this transition process and how the transition process that we typically respond to is our endings and our beginnings. And so we miss the middle part because we want to skip right from here's the ending to here's the beginning. But there is a middle part that we all have to go through, like the caterpillar had to go through, and that's called the void. That's the time when the caterpillar finds itself turning into goo within the cocoon as the old is dying in the tomb and the new is waiting to reemerge in the womb. So we too have to sit with the goo. We have to sit with the uncomfortable. We have to sit with what this now moment has and be willing to be uncomfortable in this moment, to be willing to sit in the goo, to be willing to re-examine and understand more completely the past that has been and the future that is yet to be, and to ask ourselves, how can I take those ideas and grow from them? So one of the things that I hear often about with being in the now is that we have to let go of the past. We have to let go of the future. And while that's correct, we have to live in the now, we also can take from the past and learn from the past, understand from the past, so we can make different choices moving into our future. And we do that reflection here in the now. So as an entire world, as an entire country, as an entire person, I have the opportunity to sit in the goo of this COVID and ask myself, what do I have to learn about my life? What is this uncomfortable place drawing forth in me? How can I grow through this experience? What do I have to learn about my need to be busy, my need to have something going all the time? Can I just sit and be in the goo of this uncomfortable so imaginal cells can be at work in me, bringing to mind a whole new idea for my life? Steve tells us in this particular chapter that those who decide to move through this moment in a positive, healthy way do so by nurturing their lives. As the caterpillar nurtured himself by gorging on the leaves, gorging on the food, we need to nurture our life by gorging on prayer, by gorging on meditation, by gorging on affirmation and denial, by gorging on becoming aware of the thoughts that we're holding in mind, by gorging on the truth that will make us free to transform and be that butterfly that is waiting to emerge. They decide to make needed changes, even if change is difficult. They decide to move beyond the status quo of their lives. As you consider the habits and the patterns that have been disrupted and interrupted by this particular time, what changes do you need to make in order to more fully live your life here, now, in this moment, and not someday when things get back to normal, but now, because this is the moment we have? How can we be all that we are intended to be now, here, in this moment? And then finally, they decide to look for and find joy. Joy is not dependent on any outer circumstance. Joy is simply an understanding that as I live into the Spirit of God that is within me, I find a place of well-being. I find that in any moment, I can pause, breathe, realign with that divine power and presence where all possibility exists, not for some someday, but for here, now. There is a divine idea in divine mind consciousness for each of us, for now, for this eternal moment. What is that divine idea holding for you, where you can experience the joy of knowing that all that you need in this moment is truly met through a divine idea in God's mind? Here now is enough strength to support you. Here now is enough creative ideas to help you to live fully in this moment, no matter what's occurring around you. Here now is the understanding that God is here within it all. Here now is the power to choose again. Here now is the ability to release what doesn't serve you. Here now is the time to order your life. Here now is the time to take all of those 12 power ideas that we talked about last month and live into them. Because tomorrow isn't guaranteed for any of us. Now is the only moment that we have. And so I'm inviting us to remember those ideas from Steve Goodyear, to live into those ideas so that we can transform ourselves here now in this moment to that divine light that we are. There is no better moment than right now. There is no better moment than right now. And you and I have been called into this moment. We have been called into this moment because we are the ones to rise up, to transform from that tomb into the womb, letting go of what doesn't serve us and embracing that which does. And as we do so, to sit like the butterfly, to sit with those ideas for a moment, to let it fully integrate into this human experience. Because we're not to let go of this human experience. We're to integrate our spiritual nature and our human nature together, the caterpillar and the butterfly together. It's all one. And we live into that as we choose to transform here, now, not someday. Not when I retire, not when the kids are gone, not when fill in the blank, but now. There was never a better moment than today to rise up and to do what's yours to do in love. Now, in this particular chapter, Steve Goodyear gives a beautiful story from the Hasidic tradition, where a student comes to the rabbi, and the student says to the rabbi, "You know what, Rabbi? I am done with this religious stuff. This religious stuff is supposed to bring us peace and love and justice, and I look out in the world and I see none of that. So I am done with this religious stuff." And the rabbi says to the student, "Come along with me for a moment. Let's go for a walk." And as they walk, they come to a park, and in the park there are children playing. And the children that are playing there, they've been playing in the dirt and the mud, and they're filthy. And the rabbi says to the student, "You know, I'm done with soap. Soap doesn't do anything. Look at those kids there playing in the park. Do you see how dirty they are? I'm done with soap." And the student responds, "Well, Rabbi, those children need to take the soap and they need to use the soap in order to clean themselves. It's not the soap's fault that the children are dirty." And the rabbi says, "Ah, yes. And it's not religion's fault that the world shows up without the love and the justice and the peace. It's that we too must practice that religion and what those ideas are." And so in unity, you know, our fifth principle is practice. It is so important that we not just know these ideas in our mind, but that we actually live into those ideas so that that transformation can occur. That's why we practice each week. And so I'd like to bring to you our practice for this week. This week, I'm inviting you to spend some time each day in quiet solitude. Use this as a time for self-examination, for gratitude, for dreaming, for affirming, for planning. Mostly, spend your time considering how you can turn your life right side up today. Then spend time each day in action. What action are you willing to take today to turn your life right side up? There's our practice, knowing that the only moment we have is right here, right now. And that right here, right now, is the perfect opportunity for us to transform ourselves back, right side up. The turtle's still finding himself on his back, but he's learning many lessons along the way. You might still be finding yourself on your back, turned upside down. But as you take each of these ideas and live into them, you will begin to write your life. Be sure to send me how you are practicing that this week. You can send me an email at revjoanne@unityspiritualcenter.com.